This is Garis, Masculist, MGTOW flyers, that is 2 3-page essays on the themes of masculism and MGTOW, written by and read aloud by Prof. Dr. Hugo de Garis. This is flyer number 305, entitled Men Will Dominate Gender Politics. Description. This flyer shows why men will dominate gender politics as three factors converge to create a perfect storm of male anger at feminazi hypocrisy, that is, superior male intelligence and genius, men's higher performance levels and motivation due to higher testosterone levels, and as men start using their sexbots and artwombs, that's artificial wombs, they will no longer be motivated to be nice to women in order to get into their vaginas. The text itself. As usual, make it a bit bigger. Men Will Dominate Gender Politics by Prof. Dr. Hugo de Garis. Email profhugodegaris@yahoo.com. Website profhugodegaris.wordpress.com. The idea that men will come to dominate gender politics may sound ludicrous at the time of writing. That's December 2018. Given that feminism has utterly dominated gender politics for the past half-century, this feminist gender political dominance is so strong that most women suffer cognitive dissonance when they hear of the concept of masculism for the first time. Most women, and for that matter most men, unconsciously think of feminism when they hear the term gender politics. Since masculism is so new to most people, and that second and third wave feminism have been around for longer than most people have been alive, it's not surprising that almost everyone is of the opinion that feminism dominates gender politics, that women have a monopoly of the gender stage. But all that is about to change, because men have now taken up gender politics and are now lashing out at the massive injustices perpetrated against men by society, women, and the profoundly misandrous gender laws. Men, in the form of masculists, that is, angry men who aim to do for men what feminism has done for women, that is, liberate men from the oppressions of the traditional male role, that is, free men from being man-slaves to women, by refusing to pay for women. Until the gender laws are made men fair, especially in the fluffy feminist-dominated divorce courts, and the paternity rejection rate is brought in, young men will continue to reject marriage and paternity, spending their money on themselves, thus forcing a crash in the birth rate and in time wiping out whole populations. In other words, men are now on the move, so are occupying some of the gender stage, so that women no longer have it all to themselves. But this flyer goes much further than saying that men will take up a bit of the gender stage, or that men will begin to be heard in the general gender discourse in the media and in gender studies courses, etc. This flyer says that men will come to dominate gender politics for the simple reason that whenever men turn their minds to something, they always dominate it, no matter what it is. This is because men are smarter than women and more motivated to achieve difficult tasks than women, given men's much higher testosterone levels in their bodies, making men more aggressive, more ambitious, more dogged, more persistent at performing challenging tasks than women. Hence men utterly dominate the entries in the who's who books of famous people, that is, famous men, since there are so few famous women that the term is almost an oxymoron. So now that men, with their 10% larger brains, are turning their attention towards gender politics, they'll be able to produce intellectual products of higher quality in the domain of men's lib than can women in their equivalent feminist domain of women's lib. The genii are males, which is a simple consequence of men's average IQ being 4 IQ points higher than the average IQ of women, plus the influence of GMV, greater male variance, with men's IQ variance being 10% higher than women's, resulting in the fact that the morons and the genii are male. These two phenomena, that is, the 4 IQ point average IQ superiority of men over women, as well as the 10% larger IQ variance of men over women, combine with the much higher motivational level of men with their much higher testosterone levels. Women have been sexually selecting men who were smarter than them for tens of thousands of generations, so that the men they have sex with will give their superior male IQ genes to the children of these women, resulting in children who are smarter than their mothers, which is good for the species. This instinct of women to mate up is called hypergamy. Other research shows that if the IQ difference within a couple is more than 5 IQ points, then the man is bored by the woman and abandons her. So the actual 4 IQ point superiority of men's average IQ compared to women's average IQ is consistent with that maximum 5 IQ point constraint. Thus, men are smarter than women because women chose men who were smarter than them in a manner similar to the way peahens sexually selected peacocks to have large and colourful tail feathers. Similar logic applies to other qualities men have, for example, being taller, bigger, stronger, fiercer than women, because women sexually selected men to be like that, because it was to women's advantage to do so. Male mates who were taller, bigger, stronger, fiercer than their women would be more likely to defend their women against the tall, big, strong, fierce men of enemy tribes, who could easily kill women who were manless during tribal wars. Women have always had a monopoly on 2 things, namely their vaginas and their wombs. It has always been women who decide whether a particular man gets his penis into her vagina, and it's obvious that only women are capable of growing kids. Men have always had to adapt to these realities. Most men see women as the inferior sex, less intelligent, less motivated, less creative, less functional, less rational, less calm than men. But merely put up with these negative traits of women because if they don't, then the woman they want to have sex with or have his baby will reject him for being a misogynist. So men are forced to make an effort to be nicer towards women and to suppress their true feelings towards women. Most men don't take women seriously, given women's greatly inferior track record in society, building almost nothing, creating almost nothing, inventing almost nothing. Men usually only enjoy the company of women because at the back of men's minds is the hope that by being nice to a woman, the odds are higher that she will agree to him to let him put his penis in her. But these 2 traditional monopolies that women have always had are about to be superseded in the form of the sexbots and the artwombs, that's sex robots and artificial wombs. The sexbots are coming out now with their luscious curves, their movie star faces, their creamy, grippy vaginas that women cannot compete with, especially those 2/3 of women who are fat or worse, obese, and hence are sexually repulsive to men. Once men prefer to sex their bots and can grow their own kids, men will not be forced to be nice to women in order to, in quotes, get into women's cunts, end quote. Instead, men will become much more negative and impatient with women because women will have lost the one thing that men are truly interested in women for, and that is women's vaginas. Most young men, for example, see women as, in quotes, walking cunts, and judge women in terms of her sexual attractiveness, making such a judgment in a fraction of a second on first sight. So as these 2 technical revolutions, that's sexbots and artworms, come into being, men will become a lot more coldly objective about women and take off the kid gloves in criticizing women for their numerous inferiorities. For example, their boring conversation, their prattle, their nagging, their irrationality, their emotionality, their hysterics. Men will become a lot more impatient with women once women are no longer able to bribe men with sex that women have always had a monopoly over. Most feminists are still fluffies, that's traditional women, who expect to be able to parasite off the money of a man at heart, and expect men to be nice to them, to pay for them, in order to get regular sex from a woman. These fluffy feminists have taken over the divorce courts and made them so toxic for men that now men are becoming alarmed that indirectly these fluffy feminist hypocrites have become genociders. They are indirectly wiping out whole populations because the toxicity of the divorce courts created by these fluffy feminists has caused 2/3 of young men in many countries to refuse to marry, to reject paternity, the huge issue, and to spend their money on themselves. There's nothing more important than this paternity rejection of young men, this refusal of quality young men to give young women their sperm. Thus the masculist theorists have a major issue to make them angry. The fluffy feminist hypocrites, the feminazis who are financially massacring a quarter of fathers in the divorce courts, are causing real anger amongst the masculists. We now see the makings of a perfect storm in terms of the level of anger shown by masculists towards women, and the greatly superior intellectual and emotional energy masculists will put into their gender politics, and hence will dominate the gender stage. Men will soon have their sexbots and artwombs. This will take off the brakes men have always had regarding their impatience with women's inferiorities. Men will feel freer to criticise women and be a lot colder and objective with them, once men are no longer motivated to be nice to women to get sex. Male engineering genius will give men better sex than women can. The financial massacring of one father in 4 in the fluffy feminist-dominated divorce courts is generating massive hatred amongst men against women, particularly against fluffy feminist hypocrisy. So, combining these two effects, we will see masculists really lashing out at these fluffy feminists, whom men no longer see as walking cunts. That is, as women, they want a penis. So men will take off the brakes, and when it comes to haranguing these fluffy feminist vermin, the smartest of these virulent masculists will be smarter than the smartest of the feminists, and will be a lot angrier due to men's much higher testosterone levels. This greater male anger, combined with a higher intelligence level, will in time result in men dominating gender politics. Women will be shocked by the level of venom hurled at them by sexbot artwomb using masculist theorists. In today's world, feminists hurl abuse at men, but that will soon be reversed, and with a vengeance, as men lose their motivation to be nice to women, are filled with hatred against women for what the feminazi bitches are doing to one father in 4 in the fluffy feminist-dominated divorce courts, and will be lashing out with strong verbal violence against women, scaring these women who have never seen such anger from men before. When a feminazi confronts a man whom she does not know as an angry masculist, she may be severely frightened by the explosively negative reaction she may get from the masculist man she has attacked. This masculist man sees such feminazis as enemies, as hateable, as manslaving hypocrites who have to be stopped. Since he doesn't need their cunts nor wombs anymore, he can be purely negative towards her, and he will be. As a result, women will quickly learn that they have lost their traditional monopoly on gender discourse, on gender politics. Large numbers of masculists will lash out at them in real fury, as well as creating a new custom of the masculist bitch slap. That is, if a feminazi dumps on men, then the masculist will just bitch slap her to the ground. When this happens on a regular basis, after the male law enforcers themselves become angry masculists, then women with their weaker bodies will just go quiet, will slink away because they cannot compete with such men. The feminazis have always relied on male feminist men to protect them, to enforce their gender-biased, misandrous standards. For example, the MARA, maternity rejection right, but no PARA, the massively gender-unjust divorce laws, etc. But masculists will convert these male feminist traitors to their own sex into angry masculists, so that once the custom is established that it's okay to bitch slap a feminazi by a man, then the feminazis will disappear from the scene. Women will be forced to accept their traditional inferior status that they have always had. Once men become collectively angry at women, which is now happening, as millions of men get financially massacred in the divorce courts or have their lives ruined by cuckoo mothers, that is, who lie to their boyfriends about taking the pill, get pregnant, then force the man to pay for the kid that he doesn't want due to the lack of para, etc., then God help women. Sex in men is a powerful force that women have always been able to manipulate, to sexploit. But with the sexbots and artwombs, women will lose their traditional weapons against men and will lose the gender war. Men will get angrier and angrier, armed with masculist ideas and masculist rhetoric, lashing out at women and in time dominating gender politics. Women can't compete with men's superior intelligence, superior testosterone levels, superior genius, and hence will lose the gender war. Men will dominate gender politics. Cheers. Prof. Dr. Hugo de Garis. Email profhugodegaris@yahoo.com. Website profhugodegaris.wordpress.com. Ciao.